For anyone observing this meeting either live or via WebEx, this is a meeting of the Climate Justice Working Group. This is not a public hearing or forum. We will not be taking testimony or questions from the public during this meeting. If you are attending, we ask that you remain respectful of these proceedings and refrain from raising your hand, attempting to draw attention, or interjecting at any point. For any members of the press who have joined us today, we will not be taking questions or making any statements. Please refer any inquiries to our press team at pressoffice@dec.ny.gov. Next slide, please. So for today's agenda, we'll have some brief opening remarks, and then the DEC's Division of Air is going to give us an update on the community air monitoring program, and then we will have some closing remarks and next steps. Next slide, please. Welcome to the third of our 4 Climate Justice Working Group meetings to be held in 2025. This is, again, a non-voting, non-deliberative meeting to provide you with an update on the Community Air Monitoring Project. And with that, I will turn it over to Margaret LaFar and Marilyn Worth, who will be presenting on the Community Air Monitoring Project. Next slide, please.
Thank you for that, Oliver. So thank you again. As Oliver mentioned, my name is Margaret LaFar. I'm the Division Director for Air Resources here at DEC, and I'm going to start by going over our presentation. I think we have the agenda on the next slide. Thanks. So we're going to give you an overview of the community air monitoring, or as we call it, the CAM initiative. Some overall CAM initiative findings across the state, and most importantly, some next steps, which include continued community engagement and DEC working with community advisory committees and the Climate Justice Working Group to develop air pollution reduction strategies, which again is the objective of the CAM initiative. Thanks. Next slide. So DEC did work with a mobile monitoring contractor named Acoma to conduct mobile monitoring, air monitoring, driving low emission vehicles with fast response sensors to measure local levels of greenhouse gases and pollutants that mainly come from the combustion of fossil fuels for transportation and heating. Mobile monitoring provides short-term sensor measurements for many pollutants over a large area. However, sensors are not regulatory monitors. The results are supplementary information and represent a local screening level of data to show higher and lower levels across a community to help identify sources. Considerable benefit of the initiative has been the local level focus to help DEC expand on the air quality conversation with communities, because people are interested in the pollution levels along their street where they live and work. Okay. So New York DEC's Community Air Monitoring Initiative was directed by the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, also known as CLCPA or the Climate Act. And it focuses on community protection and recognizes that there are some communities in New York that have higher air pollution burdens due to living near traffic, transportation of goods, and areas with multiple commercial and industrial sources. In addition, the people that live here face health and economic inequities, and these factors cumulatively make people more vulnerable to the impacts of air pollution and climate change. The Climate Act also requires directing at least 35% of clean energy benefits and reducing emissions to improve air quality in disadvantaged communities. Next slide. Okay. So the Climate Act required air monitoring in 4 disadvantaged communities. Governor Hochul expanded that to 10, as shown on the map on the right. We selected the communities based on census tracts with higher air pollution burden scores. These scores were calculated from 12 environmental burden DAC indicators directly associated with air pollution and facilities associated with historic discrimination and disinvestment. DEC then took these scores to communities to discuss how the data compares to their lived experiences and use that data to finalize the boundaries of the study. The CLCPA required the CAM initiative to identify sources contributing to the higher pollutant levels near sensitive receptor locations where there are vulnerable populations who may be more sensitive to the effects of air pollution, like at schools, playgrounds, public housing, and nursing homes where you find children, the elderly, and possibly people with pre-existing health conditions. Along with community input and other information, DEC will use the results of this monitoring to identify sources contributing to air pollution, to inform emission and exposure reduction strategies, and to help improve air quality for communities most in need. The QR code on the screen provides access to the main CAM webpage and story maps. Okay, next slide. So our findings reflect many of the expected local sources of pollution and some of the lived experiences of community members. Across the state, higher levels of pollution were found in areas with goods movement and high traffic, including in neighborhoods along highways and arterials accessing highways, along roads with heavy truck and bus traffic, and stop and go traffic patterns. Near some intersections, bus terminals and garages, hospitals, commercial retail and businesses, and industrial zones. Some specific sources included rail yards, construction activities, and facilities such as waste transfer stations, scrap metal processors, vehicle dismantlers, auto body shops, and asphalt plants. These higher pollution levels may be associated with vehicles traveling to and from the facilities. Higher levels of methane were measured near landfills and wastewater treatment facilities. Overall, traffic was a major source of pollution, and communities are burdened with a higher number of air pollution sources and more traffic due to unjust land use decisions and locations of highways, routes placing people near traffic-related air pollution, or what we call TRAP. Okay, next slide. And we'll skip right to the next one after that. So the CAM phases. So DEC's phase 1 report went live last August. And afterwards we conducted in-person community information sessions for all 10 communities in the fall. For our phase 1 report, DEC developed a series of interactive story maps. And I think most of you should be familiar with those. The story maps provide high-level summaries of the results and mapping tools to help identify locations with higher pollutant concentrations, nearby sensitive receptors, and assist in identifying possible sources contributing to higher air pollution levels. This report was presented to the Climate Justice Working Group last year. Since the release of the phase 1 report, DEC has been meeting with community advisory committees and helping them develop their local priorities for mitigation. Phase 2 will include a community's report, which will feature all the community input, including recommendations for their specific priorities and strategies from the community members. Phase 3 concludes with a final report outlining New York State's final air pollution and reduction strategies and plan recommendations. To develop this final report, DEC will consult with the Climate Justice Working Group and an interagency working group to advance community recommendations and identify entities with authority to implement those actions. Okay, next slide. All right. In our story maps, we included a community survey to collect input on air pollution concerns and sources. We also distributed the survey to our community advisory groups. This slide shows the list of sources of concern from our air pollution community survey to date and sources we also featured on our story maps. Concerns about car and truck traffic made up 58% of the community input as shown in the graphic. Other sources of concern included dust and pollution from construction sites and asphalt and concrete recycling plants, airplanes, trains, and wastewater treatment and energy production facilities. Okay, we can go to the next. Thanks. In addition to the community survey, we distributed an air pollution reduction strategy worksheet to the community advisory groups to collect their recommendations. The next two slides are some recommendations we received to date from the CAM study areas in New York City. And I'm going to mention a few of these on both slides. So a few of these that we're seeing here, transportation wise, where what we heard was to look at creating clean air zones, regulating traffic and or indirect emissions, expand subsidized public transportation, and again, encourage EVs and charging infrastructure, and consider traffic demand management strategies, traffic calming measures, and smart signals. And then as far as exposure reduction, really increasing green space and incorporating into the design some kind of vegetative barrier, air filtration. It can really help with reducing that exposure, mitigate both the impacts of air pollution and extreme heat. We want to look at this more holistically, and look to buffer the areas between industrial and residential neighborhoods and really get at the zoning issues there. All right, so next slide. As far as industry and energy, look at ways to improve buildings and energy efficiency, especially in public housing, expand geothermal, solar, and battery storage development. One of the things we heard was to decommission peaker power plants, upgrade and install power conduit infrastructure to eliminate gas and diesel powered generators. And they're looking for us to provide stricter rules and enhanced enforcement on waste, decrease trucking waste through DACs, cover and upgrade the locomotives hauling waste, improving enforcement of environmental regulations around waste transfer stations, and prioritizing local composting. And then as far as land use, limit industrial zones near the homes through zoning. And so with that, the next slide, Alana, are you good to take the next slide? Oops, not sure if Alana's mic is working. All right, I do not hear you. So why don't we go on to the next slide and there we go.
Can we hear me now?
We
Ooh, maybe
little
too much.
echoey. I think you're better now.
Okay. No, I'm still echoing.
Do you want me to take them?
Okay, what about now? God, I can't stop it from echoing. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, I had to turn off the big,
Thank you.
I'm in a conference room on a big screen. I had to turn that off so folks could hear me. Sorry about that. I don't think I'm on camera though. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I thought that the big screen would be, you know, a little fancier today. Guess I was wrong. That's what I get for trying to be fancy for everybody. So if you look at this slide, it shows how the community air monitoring results and all the community guided recommendations are going to help inform how we invest in reducing air pollution burdens in disadvantaged communities. So those camera results and the community input are really going to help identify those sources and really prioritize those air pollution concerns in those areas, especially the ones near sensitive population locations like schools and playgrounds and nursing homes. So the community recommendations are really going to guide the phase 3 of this process. And the final step in developing those actual reduction strategies and those plans. So we're really working on this comprehensive approach for a strategy development with an interagency working group to help facilitate all that input from multiple agencies and local governments. Just kind of acknowledging that this type of collaboration is really needed to make sure that we're successful in helping and working towards those pollution burdens and reductions in disadvantaged communities. Next slide, please. So the interagency working group is going to address cross-cutting issues like air quality, land use, housing, transportation, green infrastructure. The goal is to recognize the interconnectedness and the synergistic benefits of this approach. The disadvantaged communities barriers and opportunities report really calls for state entities and agencies to co-design programs and projects with and for the community to work across those intersecting issues. So that's really critical part of this process. And so we're going to be coming back after the communities report is released to consult with the Climate Justice Working Group as we work and develop these mitigation strategies. Some of the statewide strategies may help other disadvantaged communities and not just the ones included in the CAM initiative. And I think it's something that we've always said, that the goal of this is to be able to employ these mitigation strategies across the board, across state, not necessarily just in the DACs. So I guess I'm going to pause for a quick second, and this will be a question asked of the Climate Justice Working Group. When it comes to that collaboration and that process and that consultation with the working group, and you don't have to answer right now. If you want to think about it, think about it. What does that process look like for you? How do you want to move forward, and how do you see the working group participating? What is the strategy you would like us to take on that? Oh, I see Jill, you have your hand up. Hi.
Hi. I don't know. I guess that's something that I'll need to think about, but the first thing that came to mind is just there are many mechanisms across the state or state agencies right now where there's co-designing happening. So I guess I need to think about it, but also considering the process that's going through right now too. But I see Abby with her hand up. Maybe she has a good idea.
No, not particularly. I don't think I have a good idea. I mean, I think my questions would be around, is this an ongoing commitment that you're looking for from us, or is this, I think I'm unclear on what the ask is. And also wondering, I don't know that I am necessarily the best person for this. So is there an opportunity to bring in someone else from our organization or someone else from the region who would be just better positioned to weigh in on this?
So for the consultation on the community air monitoring, that falls under the purview of the Climate Justice Working Group. It's in the CLCPA that the Climate Justice Working Group collaborates. So there's at some point there has to be that consultation, those updates with the working group. If it would be if you would like to not expand that, but if it would start with a, you know, consultation, and if you would like to maybe have sort of almost separate conversations at an advocate level, I think that that's definitely a great place to bring in other folks from organizations, from your organizations and your collective groups. But I think for the actual portion of this that involves the Climate Justice Working Group, I don't know if we'd be able to bring in additional folks from organizations on that. I think that would strictly have to be Climate Justice Working Group members, but I can definitely go back to our council and discuss exactly what that portion entails. It's just that, you know, I don't want to say, oh, you know, it's fine, you know, bring whoever in if it's supposed to be, you know, a decision making on the Climate Justice Working Group's part.
Yeah, so I think whatever we are asked to weigh in on, I would love to have the opportunity to kind of see it in advance and, you know, get some feedback from other community partners potentially. So just
Okay.
thinking about the kind of timing and how things line up. I don't know how that integrates with your process, but that would be my request.
Okay, so making sure that the working group members, sort of like with the reports, that you would get those, you would review those in advance and then come back and be ready to talk about it.
Please. Yes.
Okay, that's definitely something we can consider. Does anybody else have any suggestions? Oh, Elizabeth.
Hi, so it says interagency working group. So is a new body going to be created, or you're talking about the climate justice working group?
No. We're talking about an interagency working group, sort of similar to how a Climate Action Council kind of brings together different agencies, but obviously there are folks from outside there. But it's more of a working group that is specifically between agencies that would have kind of that direct or contact or dealing with community air monitoring, or have some sort of air impacts in their administrative work when it comes to disadvantaged communities. So it would be on a more of an agency to agency level. So I can see, you know, circumstances where, you know, maybe DOL, DOH, you know, the Power Authority, et cetera.
Yeah. DOT is one, Department of State for land use issues. And I think we've had some slides in the past about some of the agencies we're looking to partner with.
Okay.
We can share that
any
with you,
idea?
Elizabeth.
Yeah, that would be great. And yeah, how, like when that would be started up, things like that. That would be good to know.
Margaret, did you want to?
I'm sorry, can you repeat what are
When
you
they
looking
would
for
start
the
those
timing?
meetings, when we're looking to start those interagency meetings.
I think realistically, we're talking first of the year. We're having the conversations now to identify the agencies that are going to be involved and make sure we get the right people to the table.
Thank you.
Right. So this is not technically deliberative, but are folks generally comfortable with the idea of any reporting when it comes to our consultation on this with on CAM, any reporting or reports coming to the working group members in advance before, just so folks have an opportunity to react and maybe gather some more input before the next meeting? Is that something that we think would be a good sort of avenue to follow?
And by next meeting, you mean the one in December 12th?
Oh, no, we're talking about when, no, we're not there yet. We're talking about once the report is out and, you know, ready to circulate, that it would be sent to Climate Justice Working Group members. And so you would have an opportunity to react, kind of discuss with folks about, you know, some of these mitigation strategies or pollution reduction strategies, and then come in. Again, in 2026, we'd have a meeting scheduled to discuss this with our air team.
Excellent. I was hoping it wasn't that December meeting.
Yes, no. We're not ready for that yet. And I see some agreement here in the chat. So great, fantastic. So we'll look to kind of adopt that strategy unless anybody has an objection to it. Okay, next slide then. Okay, so the next steps for this, obviously, once we have those conversations and get the interagency working group together, their goal will be to provide some recommendations possibly to help direct some of these benefits to disadvantaged communities, specifically from an agency perspective. If you can see on the slide, there are some examples of some of the projects and programs that have been funded or been suggested for funding. So we're going to be emphasizing the importance of the projects that simultaneously increase climate resiliency and optimize mitigation strategies like nature-based solutions, trees, vegetative barriers that reduce particle pollution from traffic, and also building the community's ability to withstand and recover from climate impacts like extreme heat and flood runoff. So that's going to be a lot of the focus of what we are looking to do, and how we're going to be working in those next phases. So, does anybody have any questions for our air staff on the report? Report out, not the report. The report is coming soon.
Alana, can you clarify? It says fund. So is there a set fund for this, or did I miss that? Or is this just more generally looking at the available funding programs that could support it that are already available?
Yeah, it's just generally looking at the current funding streams.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and I think we're still exploring other funding opportunities. So I think more to come on that, but
yeah, it's certainly on the clean energy and to some extent maybe transportation. With NYSERDA and
right.
other agency programs, I think certainly would be interested in ways that we could support that with our available funding where it makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions for our air team? Okay, seeing no hands up. Next slide, please. So here's the contact information. If you guys, think of questions later, if always reach out to our air team, and you can always reach out, obviously, if you have any questions specifically for me or for Office of Environmental Justice, justice@dec.ny.gov. But other than that, we will be reaching out to Climate Justice Working Group members to schedule our December meeting. Thank you so much for responding to the poll. If there are any issues or any sort of outstanding things that come up, I'll definitely make sure to make working group members aware. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me or any member of the technical team. Thank you so much. I'm glad that we were all able to gather for this. I didn't want to make everybody travel to accessible locations for this quick meeting. Oh, Jill, you have your hand up.
I just have a question unrelated to that presentation.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was in a meeting yesterday with some DEC folks, and it was stated that the disadvantaged communities maps hadn't been updated because we had not approved the final criteria or what we voted on to update the 2020 census data, and that the delay was because we hadn't voted. And we voted. Like, I remember.
Yeah, you voted.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you to tell me who said it, but if you could email me who said that, that would be great.
But I'm also curious what the delay is on the update to the maps, or maybe the maps have been updated and I'm just not aware.
So we are still waiting. There are still some sort of outstanding issues. The maps, we're hoping to have those updated in time, to discuss so we can go over the information and go over the criteria for, in compliance with the CLCPA, but they are not released just yet. It is connected to some other related issues with investments and benefits, but we're hoping to have that out very soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And definitely send me who told you that because we need to correct them. Are there-
Alana, I also
Yes.
have a question that's unrelated to the community, well, not
Sure,
completely
go
unrelated.
ahead.
But regarding what you just said, the investments and the benefits, will a report on kind of how those numbers are shaking out? And I know there was, there was a lot of work happening previously about getting all the agencies kind of under a system, and we have not heard about that in a while. So I'm curious if that's something that's coming for us soon, an update on that.
Yes, yes, there, we are looking to make sure that there is a report that's generated, not just from the more recent, but also looking at what, investments and benefits have looked like from, like 2020 until recently. So that's kind of, a lot of the dots, that we're trying to connect right now.
Okay.
But we are, the goal is to make sure that there's a report and then there's reporting moving forward.
Fantastic. I look forward to that.
Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. Thank you so much for jumping on today. Like I said, didn't want to force you to, travel to a location just for this kind of quick update. Again, as I said before, if you have any additional questions, things pop up in your head, especially concerns, feel free to reach out. We're here to address any issues you might have. And if we can't answer you instantly, we will definitely try to get that information to you in a very quick amount of time. Like I said, we'll be in touch on the next Climate Justice Working Group meeting. But other than that, have a good day and we will talk again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you, everybody.